Hello and welcome to another episode of McCann Fuckery, one that I don't really want to be making. I can't believe it's up to an idiot like me to have to break this down for the interwebs, and I nearly wish in a way that I could just let it go because it does make me so furious and want the video to be watchable as well. I don't want to just break down into criticism of other people that post things on YouTube, for example. Anyway, so what am I talking about when I say McCann fuckery? Well, I've got a McCann playlist for one thing, and this video will go in it. And I call it McCann fuckery because the disappearance of Madeleine McCann is one of these cases that it makes me so angry because I hate seeing a young child being so disrespected and so dishonoured by your own parents. And there's so much misinformation and disinformation in the world, people believing all sorts of things about Madeleine McCann. So much trash is just repeated. I mean, waking up this morning to see in my YouTube feed headlines on posts by creators, Christian Breuckner charged, arrest made in Madeleine McCann case, etc. Or, panels of YouTubers using what they, as intelligent people, surely know is fake news to legitimize past things they've said. It totally doesn't, okay? So if you like watching a certain Fab 4, for example, don't be impressed. You should be sickened and annoyed. Anywho, so what do you think's actually happened? What do you think's happened? That the news is that German man Christian Breuckner has been made Arguido. So this means he's been named as a formal suspect in the disappearance of British girl Madeleine McCann. So, I mean, a lot of people in 2020 thought that Christian Breuckner had been arrested for this murder, that he was in jail, that he'd been convicted, that he'd confessed, all sorts of things, right? This is the manipulation of you by mainstream media, by not only the press in the UK, but by teams of people in high authority in law enforcement, working with the German police to fuck with your head. And now the Portuguese are fucking with your head for a political reason, I'm sure. Christian Breuckner's not the first person to be named Arguido, is he? In relation to Madeleine McCann. First we had Robert Morant, and then we had Kate and Gerry McCann. And that happened a few months after Maddie was reported missing in September, and they skedaddled back off to the UK soon after, or pretty much immediately after they were named. They were named by Gonçalo Amaral. So he was heading the investigation for the Portuguese at the time, and since then he's gone back and forth in litigation with the McCanns always winning. After he wrote his book, The Truth of the Lie, he's left the police force now. But he knew what a lot of people know, that Kate McCann did not do what was normal, what was expected. And okay, you might think, well, you don't know what you're going to do. Well, if you've gone, so what's the situation here? They're in Praia de Luz. It's a foreign country. They're staying in an apartment in a resort. They've got Madeleine, who's about to turn 4 on the 12th of May, and they've got 2 other children, little twins, Sean and Emily. And they rent this apartment, and by day they're playing tennis with their friends and things like that. By night they are going out drinking, and the McCanns aren't taking advantage of the local creche. They're not paying for a babysitter. They decide that they will leave their young children in their unlocked apartment on foreign soil while they go out and piss it up. And no, it's not like just being at home in your backyard while you're inside with your friends. No, it's nothing like that. And on the night in question, May the 3rd, when the farce starts to be played out, Kate McCann goes up to the apartment to check on the children, and imagine this: you've left a 3-year-old child and 2 babies asleep in a hotel room. If you truly thought someone had been in there and had taken one of your children, would you leave your twins, who are still asleep and slept through everything, would you leave them there while you ran back down again to where you've been pissing it up with your friends? Or would you stand on the patio at the back of your apartment that looks down over the pool towards where your friends are and just scream blue bloody murder? I can't find Madeleine. No, Kate McCann doesn't do this. Kate McCann doesn't do that. She doesn't get on her phone and call her husband. She doesn't call out from the balcony. No, she leaves her twins and she goes down and tells her friends they've taken Madeleine. They've taken her. So you might also think that there was sign of a break-in. The shutters were broken, the window was open, a door slammed shut. No, you're mistaken again. We know that the windows weren't tampered with. One of the tapas 7, as they're known, one of the tapas 7, Fiona Payne, her testimony does not include seeing any open windows in this apartment. Not at the rear, where the patio door had been left unlocked. Not at the front, which is on the other side of the apartment from the tapas bar. Not on the front where the bedrooms are, where Maddie and the twins were sleeping. No, she went in throughout that apartment, noticed nothing. The shutters indeed were not forced. No fingerprints were ever found. There was no evidence of a break-in. There was no evidence that anybody had broken in, let alone Christian Breuckner. You might say, well, but hold on a minute, Christian Breuckner's phone, it pinged near the hotel. Really? Really? It pinged near the hotel? Okay, so Christian Breuckner was in Portugal at the time, and just like anybody in Portugal at the time who had a mobile phone, The phone's going to ping somewhere. It pinged 30 minutes away where Christian Breuckner was. 30 minutes away. Not down the street, not at the back of the hotel, not down by the beach in Praia de Luz. 30 minutes away. You know, he's perfect for it, right? He's interested in CSAM. He's committed awful crimes, which he was already in prison for before 2020, before he was named a POI by UK and German police, before they dug up half of Germany finding nothing. They found his device with his CSAM materials on it, nothing showing Madeleine McCann. And there were 8,000 images. You know, it's just convenient. Kate and Gerry McCann made it through the 15-year statute of limitations. This is all their bullshit is ever about. They needed Christian Breuckner in 2020. Under Portuguese law, the statute of limitations for this type of crime is 15 years. So, yeah. And Madeleine would be 19 this May the 12th. Now, you might think, but there's no evidence to make you wonder about anything else happening to Madeleine other than her just being whisked away from the apartment. Well, this isn't the case. In August, Keela and Eddie, so Keela is a blood dog, and he's trained to, or she, I'm not sure what the sexes of these dogs are. Keela is trained to freeze with her nose, or his nose, on the place where the scent of blood is. And Eddie, another spaniel, is trained to bark to the scent of cadaver. And these dogs are world-class dogs. These aren't just any old dog. These are world-class dogs that are experienced, have at the time they had an indisputed 100% track record. They are probably the best dogs in the world at what they do. They'd be, they're on par with the best, Eddie and Keela. So both of them gave the most strong hits that they can behind the sofa being at the front of the apartment, well, the rear really, but the part where the patio is overlooking the hedge that blocks off the view to the tapas restaurant, because you might have thought that they could see their apartment. Well, they could see the resort. They could see the corner of the resort. They couldn't hear their children in there. They couldn't see anything that was going on. They couldn't see the front door. We've got all this differing information coming out from Gerry and Kate about which door they were going in that night. It's all lies. It's all lies. So both a blood and cadaver dog have given their signals behind the blue sofa. When tiles were pulled up from behind the blue sofa, blood was found. So something that goes to support dog Keela's signals. And We know from studying other cases that cadaver scent, depending on the environment, etc., it takes about 2 hours to cure, I guess you could say. Eddie, the cadaver dog, hit in the wardrobe, a wardrobe that Kate and Gerry McCann used to store a suitcase. There's photographic evidence of this. These dogs hung around for a little while, and when the McCanns 3 weeks later hired a car, drove around the countryside, they also hit in the car. Blood scent, I might get this wrong just from memory now, in the boot. Cadaver scent found in testing that they did, finding the keys of that car buried in various places. You know, they put the car in a car park with lots of other cars and let the dogs go and do their thing. They both went to the hire car. The cadaver dog hit, I think, going into the driver's seat, found the keys, hit on Kate McCann's clothing. Blood was found in the car. The blood might be anybody. Yes, DNA testing was done. I don't know if it's definitive, but it's possible that it was hers. Same with blood found somewhere else, I'm not sure. And the other place that the cadaver scent dog hit was Cuddle Cat. Little Cuddle Cat that Kate McCann just had to carry around with her, as one would, right? So that was in August, and then pretty soon after, when Gonzalo Amaral decided that, well, you know, these people are a little bit suspect. I'm going to name them as formal suspects in the disappearance of their daughter. Well, they just took off back to the UK, and just shenanigans just kept going from there. Now, people talk about, well, the Podesta brothers were there though too. You know, everything becomes these huge, big, organised crime rings, doesn't it? Oh, it couldn't just be neglectful parents suffering now. Suffering, yeah, because they made some bad decisions, of course. Of course. If, you know, parents that neglect their children make bad decisions to neglect their children, and then the unthinkable happens, need to just own up to it, do the time, and then go and live their lives as better people. Okay? Not take the world for a spin. Stealing millions, really. Stealing the compassion of people that deserves to go elsewhere. Stealing money from people that deserves to go elsewhere into other cases. Lying to your face, right? So the Podesta brother sketches, if you've ever looked at them. Okay, these are the ones that are called the Smith sighting. The Smith sighting were a family that were actually down in a bar as you go down the hill towards the coast from the ocean resort. You pass a bar, and the Smith family were on holiday, and 2 people saw a man carrying a young girl in some pajamas away. Look at those photos. Look at those pictures. I mean, if you can't tell me those etchy, sketchy things, you know, they look like Gerry McCann. It's who they look like. Gerry McCann. And it's not an impossibility that, you know, through neglect, okay, through making some really poor decisions about the care of their children, an accident happened in the apartment and Gerry McCann decided to just try and cover it up. Hey, you know, too late. She's dead, right? She's dead, so why ruin our lives anymore, you know, right? We've got children here to raise, these other twins who Kate McCann left alone in this apartment. Well, I mean, wasn't she afraid that this person was still around and might take the twins? Oh no, she just abandoned them again to go back down to the tapas bar to make the alarm, set the alarm, raise the alarm. And guess what? These children did not wake up. They didn't wake up. But they weren't available for testing, you know, testing skin, saliva, even hair follicles, etc. They're not available to anyone for testing until 3 months later, over 3 months later. Then Kate makes it possible for testing of the twins to be done, toxicology, right? As doctors, they would know that's how long it would take for them to get a clear screen, I guess. Just if that were the case, right? Well, you know, how do you know they gave them medicine? I mean, they were traveling. Why would they give them medicine? Well, these people took so many medications with them, maybe 7 or 8 medications with them. Oh, right. So, yeah, they've got scripts for them all, right? It's all for them, all for things that they need treating, right? I mean, these healthy 30-something fit little doctors, maybe just something for stress, whatever, right? Apart from the generic stuff, these medications weren't even in their name. They're writing scripts to family members for medications that can put people to sleep. If you don't find that, you know, that curious, I mean, that's up to you. Maybe I'm just really cynical when it comes to parents who can't own up to being neglectful of their children because they just want to save their own skin. They figure it's already done. Que sera, sera, right? Yeah. And it's not even a matter of, you know, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Because there's been so many stories and so many stories, lies in books, lies in interviews to TV, lies in interviews to police. They can't, you know, Gerry McCann, I mean, they're both bright. Kate seems absolutely devastated. Gerry comes across like a psychopath, but hey, I'm not qualified to make an assessment like that. And if I were, well, he's not my patient, so, well, I guess I'm not breaking the Goldwell rule then. It's just an opinion. I mean, it's just been batshit from the start, right? They can harass staff of the ocean resort because some twat in the UK writes to Prince Charles and says, I think that person at the hotel had something to do with it. But they can't investigate the parents who lie about which door they're going in and out of because, you know, they change their stories so many times it has to just be a lie changing because of information that's coming to them, right? They lie about windows being open. Kate McCann's story, it's, you know, we've got Candace planting flowers and we've got Kate worried about a window and shutting it and the door slamming. It's all bullshit. Something happened to Madeleine McCann, you know, in my opinion, because of the neglect of her parents, and they covered it up. They discarded her body. Where did they put her? I don't know. I don't know. Did they take her down to the beach? Did they take her to the church that later they got keys for? They were allowed to go in there and grieve alone. I don't know. Did they go and move her in the suitcase that then subsequently had cadaver dog Eddie give a very strong hit to? You can watch the video of that. It's compelling. You know, I think it's in James Bogart's 18 or 19 part series about Madeleine McCann. It's on YouTube here. I think it's in his series where he has his theory that Gerry did actually use the suitcase perhaps to take Madeleine away from the apartment, some part of the way down to the coast. She got heavy along the way, hidden the suitcase, you know, this case under a hedge, picked up Madeleine McCann and kept going the rest of the route. And that's when the Smith family has seen him and made those amazing etchy sketches of a person that looks different, of course, because two different people are giving the description of this one man. But they both look like Gerry McCann. People somehow think, well, it's a sighting of two people and it's the Podesta brothers. No, it's each person describing who they saw to the sketch artist. So there's two versions of the same person, both looking like Gerry McCann. The timing is perfect. Something around, can't remember, 20 to 10 o'clock at night. And James thinks the suitcase was sort of getting a bit lumbery and it would have, you know, been easier for Gerry just to carry Maddie. And so that's what he does. And then he retrieves the suitcase later. He thinks maybe Madeleine McCann heard parents outside at one point talking and wanted to see what was going on, climbed up on the sofa and fell down. Maybe she was just wandering around the apartment on her own while they're all down there pissing it up. Maybe she can hear faraway laughter, etc., and just like a little kid wanted to look out the window. But in either case, it seems possible that Madeleine McCann has fallen and hit her head where the blood is on the floor under the tiles in that apartment 5A of Praia Ocean Resort in Praia de Luz. You know, where the cadaver dogs didn't just give a passive hit, but where the cadaver dog went absolutely nuclear, ballistic. This little dog is so sure. Yeah, so the truth of the lie. You know, Christian Breuckner is just way too easy. He's just too convenient. You might say, why would the UK government support Gerry and McCann in such a farce? Why wouldn't they just want justice for little Maddie McCann, who is one of their subjects, just like Kate and Gerry? Well, you know, these people are doctors of the NHS system. We can't have doctors of the NHS system acting in such a manner. You rely on them. Kate's an anaesthetist, or was it Gerry that was an anaesthetist, by the way? You know, let's face it, we know that parents give children Benadryl to sleep. We know parents that give their children brandy to sleep, right? This gets done. And parents that are away on holiday that just want to relax and have a good time with their friends might delude themselves that, okay, we're only 60 meters away. We're going to have this system, our checking system, and if they're asleep, then they're just safe and sound, right? I mean, the stories we get, sometimes they're listening at the door, sometimes they've gone right in, you know. One of the friends, I can't remember which one it wasn't David Payne, it might have been Mike or someone. He's done one of the checks. I don't think he could even find Maddie in bed in the check he did before Kate McCann, but then he sort of peered into the where the twins were, and he's maybe assumed that they're all in there, and, you know, because it's quiet. She could have been lying behind the sofa even then, or she may even have been there well before that. I mean, we don't know. We don't know, but what we do know is that Christian Breuckner is not actually connected to this case by evidence, and there's been a farce starting in, well, you know, the whole thing, but in 2020, that whole thing, you know, something kicks up every year for the McCanns, just to keep everyone busy while they just waited tick, 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 tick for that statute of limitations to pass. And Christian Breuckner just was too good to be true. He was in Portugal. He's got the right kind of sick way of operating and the sick desires, and he's a criminal. He's disgusting. So, hey, let's get him for it. So, you know, Operation Grange, that was started in 2011, that was winding down. Nothing else is going to be done. So I don't know, you know, how this sort of helps Portugal. Maybe it helps keep the case open if they have an Arguido. And so now finally, 2 years later, they're playing ball. They don't suspect Christian Breuckner. They cleared him. They don't suspect him since 2008. They closed their case in 2008, and it was taken up in 2011 by UK police. UK police that Amaral was already criticising. He might have been sacked out of his position, his high position, and then I think he remained in the force maybe until he just resigned in disgust. But, you know, McCanns can't get a break against him. They keep trying to bring down his book, and he's standing by it, and he just keeps on going, and their appeals are constantly overruled because Amaral's not saying anything other than what he, as a professional, can extrapolate from fact. That's all he's doing when he writes in his book. Yeah, and a lot of people really don't understand this case. And don't be fooled. There's a lot of misinformation out there, right? A lot of misquoting, a lot of wrong headlines. Okay, so all you need to know is there is zero evidence putting Christian Breuckner anywhere near the resort. There's no evidence putting him near Maddie. There's no evidence found in Germany when all his homes, past homes, etc., his data, when everything has been searched, his vehicles, everything. Nothing links him. Nothing shows a break-in at that apartment. Kate McCann, you would think if something had been damaged when this so-called abductor is taking her daughter, you'd think she'd say immediately to the manager, look at this. This all came later. This is all a lie that they were telling people back home or bringing up later. That evening, nothing was seen damaged and nothing was reported damaged. The story developed later, and Kate McCann's telling of it becomes more and more dramatic and overblown. Her book tries to she tried to throw this so-called Tanner sighting, the Tanner man, under the bus. This is Jane Tanner, who was in the Tapas 7. Saw a man going back from the creche, ironically enough, carrying his own daughter back from somewhere that she'd been kept safe for the night. But she said he was going the other way, away from the hotel. Oh, it must have been someone taking Maddie. No, it was a man walking back. Maybe. And actually, you know, I need to catch up on this now, because maybe that doesn't even exist. I'm not sure. I'm running out of time now, because, yeah. Christian Breuckner, no evidence. He's not charged. He's not arrested. He's not in jail for it. He's just been named Arguido because it suits politicians of Portugal and UK and Germany, and that is the bottom line. This is a nightmare of a fairy tale. Okay, it's a story of neglect and lies. And Maddie